up, guys? Kellen Morgan here at Hunt G4 here in North Plains, Oregon. We're located about 20 minutes west of Portland. And today we're doing a video in collaboration with Slayer Calls with 6 tips and tricks to hopefully mitigate any disasters in the woods this year and ultimately make your elk hunt more successful. We're gonna go over everything from tuning, call accessibility, bow transport, you know, emergency stuff that you need out there for your bow. So first and foremost, we're gonna talk about the bow and tuning process. So tuning your bow is extremely important for not only broadhead accuracy, but also penetration. So whichever broadhead you decide to shoot, you wanna make sure that you get your bow tuned relatively close to season. You know, if you tune it in March, by the time we get to August and you've been shooting a lot, it may well be out of tune. In my opinion, any pro shop that you go to, if you ask to get your bow tuned, you need to be the one shooting your bow when they tune it. If I have 3 guys that all, even if their grip is the exact same on that bow, everybody's hand size is different, their hand shape is different, that arrow will come out of that bow slightly differently. With a broadhead, that's extremely important because if that arrow is coming out and kicking right or left, those blades are going to catch wind, especially with like a fixed blade, and play in the opposite direction. So a question I get asked a lot is, do these broadheads fly well? I can tell you the broadhead inherently flies just fine. If it is not impacting with your field points, that's not because the broadhead necessarily isn't flying well. It's because that arrow is kicking a little bit and your bow needs to be tuned to bring the tail right in line with the front of that arrow. Again, I can't stress enough how important it is for you to be the one shooting your bow when you're tuning. I highly encourage everybody goes to their local pro shop. That's what keeps this industry alive. But if you go to your pro shop and they say, drop your bow off and come back in a couple days and it'll be tuned, definitely ask them to shoot it when you pick it up. And if they are hesitant to do so, it might be time to look for a new pro shop. Generally, my process with that, you know, we tune people here all the time, especially this time of year getting ready for hunting season. If I can get a bullet hole through paper at 6 feet and 6 yards, generally speaking, my broadheads and field points are going to be more or less right on top of each other. When an arrow kicks, it's going to be at its worst, meaning it's going to be kicking its hardest before the vanes kind of stabilize the arrow at about 4 to 6 yards. So if I can get a perfect bullet hole at 6 yards, I know that for that initial launch off the bow, that arrow is flying straight. The vanes have time to create drag and stabilize that arrow as it flies down range. On top of accuracy, a lot of penetration is due to an arrow actually hitting straight on an animal. We get a lot of guys that shoot mechanicals because they say, oh, they fly like my field points, but the tuning is still important because if that arrow hits that animal at an angle, the transfer of energy is diminished significantly. So no matter the broadhead that you're shooting, that tune is really important to penetration and accuracy. So again, make sure you're the one shooting your bow. Do this, you know, late July, early August. Not bad to check it again before you go out for season, but you should have really good success if you can get that tuned down. Your broadheads and field points should be very close together. The second thing I see a lot, and this can really mess you up in the field, is a lot of peep sights are tied in very poorly. I can't tell you how many peep sights I see that guys bring in their bows, and there's one little wrap around the peep sight and a couple knots above it and a couple knots below it. If you can grab that peep sight and apply a little bit of pressure and move that, it needs to be tied in more securely. A tiny movement in your peep sight, like an 1/8 of an inch movement in your peep sight up or down, will affect your point of impact at 20 yards by about 5 or 6 inches. You extrapolate that out to 40, 50, 60 yards, you're gonna be 2 feet high. So very important to get that peep sight locked down. To where if you're out hunting and you slip and you run your hand up the string, it's not gonna move that peep sight. It really sucks when you put in the time to get on an elk and everything is good and you miss or wound that animal simply because your peep sight was not tied in correctly. So again, if you can grab that peep sight and just apply a little bit of pressure and have it move, I would take your bow somewhere where they can tie that in a little more securely. So a lot of things that we see, common issues during season when people come in, are derailed bows, cut strings, unraveled serving, which is the coarse thread around your bowstring, or a broken D-loop or something like that. So it's really good to make a little kit that you can take with you to where you can make in-field fixes. It's very easy to watch a YouTube video to learn how to tie a D-loop. So I would actually probably bring 2 or 3 feet of this. You know, if you're shooting a drop away rest, whether it's limb driven or cable driven, this D-loop cord will work for the rest cord as well as your D-loop. So I always carry a good length of D-loop with me. A small spool of serving. I prefer the BCY Power Grip 18 thou. You can use it for center serving. If your serving, you know, gets cut or whatever, you can patch it with this. It's gonna fit in all your cam tracks and roller guards and all that. Everything will be in spec. This is what they use on most aftermarket strings. And then if you have got your bow restrung recently, ask to get your old strings back. Even if they're pretty tatered, if you're out there and you cut a string or derail your bow and fray your string or something like that, mid-season it's gonna be really hard to find a pro shop that has a string in stock. But if you have your old string with your peep sight and your D-loop and everything still on it, every shop has a bow press. So if you can get them your old string, they can get that on there, and it's gonna more than likely save your season. You're gonna be out for a day or two versus a week or two or more. So if you get your bow restrung, ask to get your old strings back. Just put these in your case or your backpack or whatever and forget about them. But I have seen a lot of seasons fail because of a broken string, and I've seen a lot of seasons saved with a spare string. One thing we really like about Slayer calls, we've been carrying them for the last few years now, is the variety of calls that they make. Everything for your experienced competition caller down to your novice, where, you know, an external read might be a little intimidating or they're not very good at it. They've got a call for everyone. On top of that, they've got different calls that will give a different tone, a different sound, and in my opinion, that's really important because I've been out hunting before and I rip a bugle and we hear nothing. My buddy 2 minutes later tries one and a bull torches off, you know, 100 yards below us. For whatever reason, he liked the tone, the volume, the sound of that call better. So Slayer has a couple different bugle tubes. This is the Enchantress system. So this is actually, you can use this as a standard bugle tube with your external read, or this guy can clip onto the bugle and it's just a push button. So more air, harder press, it'll change that octave. I really like this for cow calls. It's soft, you can be quiet with it, and it's just got a really natural tone to it. They also make your external reads, so if you want to get a little bit louder, maybe get a little more nasally tone like a cow and estrus, different tone to it. And then of course you got your standard read. So I've got a variety of ways that I can present my call to those elk. And again, they might like one better than others. Now, this is obviously a lot of stuff to be carrying around. So call accessibility is really important. You can keep them in your pocket. They make hat clips, all sorts of stuff, but I like to have a bino harness that has a pocket in the front that I can keep my reeds in. You know, some guys use a different reed for locator bugles than they do for cow calls, so on and so forth. But being able to have these things accessible is really important. This will actually go onto your bugle tube. So when you're walking around, I would most likely just keep this on your tube. That way it's not going to fall off. Super easy to do that call. Got a different tone, the Archangel with this acrylic mouthpiece and a reed. So again, different tones, different sounds, easy to use. I really like having a full system like that. For me, I'm gonna use mostly a reed and this guy for the Enchantress for cow calls. You can really sound like a whole herd of elk with those 2 calls. So one guy can sound like multiple elk. So now we're gonna get into the transportation of your equipment. There's some cool products, one's on the bow here. But first we're gonna start with cases. So obviously you have your soft cases, hard cases. In terms of just durability and making sure nothing will happen, your hard case is gonna be your best bet. The downside to a hard case is they are bulky. You know, if you're just going off for a day hunt, sure, throw your bow either on top of your pack in the back seat or put it in your soft case. But if you're gonna be throwing that bow in a trailer or the back of your truck, I would invest in a hard case so that if something falls on it, it's not gonna, you know, hit your side or hit your rest, or worst case scenario, you know, something heavy enough that it'll break a string or something like that. In the field, I don't really use many carriers in the field other than this bow slicker. So this is made by Easton. This goes over your cams and your strings. And for me, that I love that, because a lot of times if I'm hiking in the morning and you know, if it's dark out and I've got an hour hike, obviously I don't need to shoot my bow. So I'll strap my bow to my pack. And I see this all the time where guys come in and they have a fray on their string from where their nylon strap on their pack went over their bow. This is going to protect your strings and cables. Keep any straps from making any abrasions on your string. And then even if you need to get it off quickly, these things literally come off in like a couple seconds. So really cool product. They weigh nothing. You can just shove this in the bottom of your pack. I use this probably 90% of the time. I'll put this on my bow, put my pack in the back, throw my bow on top of my pack if I'm just driving up the hill here, and I'm good to go. When it comes to arrow transportation, if you are using a soft case, invest in an arrow box. I cannot tell you how many guys I see who come in and they have their quiver full of arrows, they shove that in their soft case and they zip it up. If it sits long enough like that, it is going to bend the vanes on your arrows. And with a field point, might not see much of a difference in impact. With a broadhead, having that bent vane creates a heavy side on that arrow. That creates a wobble, and who knows what that broadhead's gonna do. So with these, you can keep all your arrows with broadheads in a case in that front pouch of your soft case. And when you get to where you're going, you can pull them out, put them in your quiver, and your vanes are gonna be perfect. I think this will hold up to 24 arrows. The last thing I wanna talk about, and this is just a little tip I've learned over the years, is headlamps. So there's a million different headlamps on the market. I'll let you decide which one you want to use, but in my opinion, go with a battery powered, a changeable battery headlamp. There's a lot of really great ones that are rechargeable, like you plug them into a USB or whatever. But if you're in the field and that sucker dies, even if you have a charging port with you, like one of the portable charging packs, it's going to take 30 minutes to an hour to get a long enough charge where you can get out and not have to stop again. On top of that, if you have a standard battery powered headlamp, if you don't have them, your buddy might have some extra batteries, or vice versa. You might have batteries for his. Batteries weigh about as much as an external charging port, so I would highly recommend using a battery powered headlamp so that if it goes dead on you or turns on in your pack, all you gotta do is open that case, slam in some new batteries, and you're hunting again. So I know that was kind of jam-packed, a lot of stuff into one video there, but I want to tell you where to find all this stuff. So if you go on Instagram, Slayer Calls, that is their Instagram page. We carry their full line of products here at Hunt G4. If you're looking to find Hunt G4, it is at Hunt G4 on Instagram as well as YouTube. We will put those links in the description below. If you have not been to the shop and you're in the area, I highly encourage you to come by. We've got pretty much everything you could want, archery related, optics related, rifles, a great line of products, great service. And I hope you guys learned something from this video. Hopefully it gives you a couple tips and tricks to make your hunt more enjoyable and successful this season. So until next time, remember, hunt hard, hunt safe, and be kind.